Hello guys, welcome back. In this lecture, we will work on fetching mutually connected users between two users. Okay, you can consider this feature something similar to LinkedIn. For example, let's say when you visit the profile of other users on LinkedIn, and if you have any other connections common between both of you, then you will see that there is a link which is showing the mutual connections count like X number of mutual connections. Okay, and we will do the same thing in our course project as well. Okay, so but for example, let me show you that here you can see that these are the connected users with the current user, and if you click on this user, you can see here it is showing 11 connections. And now in this lecture we will show that X number of mutual connections with this user for the currently signed in user. Okay, and here you can see that both the users have some connections common between both. Okay, so here you can see like this Nitra Nolan, Quinn Kaling. Okay, and here you can see both the users as well for the currently signed in users connection page. So here you can see that these are the common users. Okay, and there can be many more as well. Okay, so now what we will do that we will display mutually connected users count on both users. Okay, and I hope you might have idea about the way we fetched all connected users of a user. Okay, and you can see the connection action in the members controller. So let me show you. First, switch to the project directory and open the members controller, and in the connections action you can see that here we are fetching the requested and received connection of a user. Okay, now we need to use the similar way to fetch the IDs of all connected users of a user. Okay, but this time we will fetch the connected user ID from requested connections and user ID from received connection. And we will not handle this at the controller level, as this will require implementing lot of code for fetching the connected user IDs for both current user and the user you are viewing. Okay, and to avoid this, we will add a new attribute in the user model with name connected user IDs and make it an integer array. Okay, and in this way, or sorry, in this array we will store IDs of all the users connected with a user object. Okay, and then we will use this array attribute to find the mutually connected users between two users. Okay, so let's add the attribute to the user model. So first switch to the terminal and generate a new Rails migration. So switch to the terminal and open a new terminal window, and here what you need to do, Rails G migration. Okay, and then we need to use migration name, that is add connected user IDs to users. Okay, so sorry, users. Okay, so what this migration will do, that this will add a new attribute. So just generate this migration and do not run this. Okay, because we need to make some changes into the migration file, and we need to populate the value of this new connected user IDs attribute for each existing user. Okay, here you can see that these are the users who already connected with other users. So after generating this migration, we need to make some changes in this migration file itself. So when this migration get run, it will assign connected user IDs some values for existing users. Okay, and this is important sometimes to add an attribute and then provide value to it for existing records. Okay, and since we already have 1000 user records that we generated using the faker data in our database, so first we need to find all the connections of a user first. Okay, so let's change the migration. So switch to the project directory again and open the recently generated migration. Okay, so go to the app, sorry, db migrate directory, and here you can see that this is the migration that we generated as the last. Okay, and now replace the change method with up method. Okay, because here we will use up and down method. Okay, and up is used to change the schema status when migration is run, and down is used to change the schema status when migration is rolled back. Okay, now let's use the add column method to add connected user IDs into the user table. Okay, so what we can do here, add column. Okay, and here first provide the table name, that is users, and then provide the attribute name, that is connected user IDs. Okay, and then provide its type integer, then array true, and set its default value to blank array. Okay, and save it. Here you can see that we define this attribute as an integer array and set the default value for this as empty array. Okay, now let's iterate through all the existing user to populate the value of connected user IDs attribute. Okay, here we will wrap all operations, I mean the queries, in a active record based transaction to ensure the atomicity, and it means that all update either succeed or are rolled back if an error occurs. Okay, so what we can do here, after this add column line, just come here and we need to add active record based transaction block. So active record base dot transaction. Okay, and in this block first add the do and end this block. Now in this active record transaction block we need to iterate through all the existing user using find each method. Okay, and just use find is not all method because all is not efficient and find is much faster than dot all method. Okay, so what we can do here, user dot find each do, and here user, and then end this block. Okay, now in this block we first need to find all the requested connection of this currently iterated users. Okay, so what you can do here, just copy this line. Okay, and what we can do, just copy this requested connections, even you can copy both. Okay, just copy both these lines and paste it here. Okay, and make the word wrap so that we can see in without scrolling left to right. Okay, and remove the @ sign from this received connections. And now what you need to do, that you just need to replace this params id with the user.id. Okay, so just do that, user.id, and status is accepted. Okay, and do the same changes for received connections as well, that remove the params id with user.id. Okay, save it, and then let's define a connected user IDs variable and assign the IDs of connected users in an array. Okay, here we will use connected user ID from the requested connections and user ID from the received connections. Okay, so let's define the variable here, that is connected user IDs equal to, okay, and what we need to do here, requested connections dot plug, and then we can provide connected user ID. Okay, and then just plus it, received connections dot plug user ID, plug, and here user ID. Okay, now let's run the update query for setting the value of connected user IDs attribute for the current user. Okay, or the user which is iterated. Okay, so what we can do, user dot where. Okay, and I will encourage you to use the user dot where rather than user dot find, because that will make query faster. Okay, so in this user dot where, what we can do, ID is user dot ID dot update all, and then what we can do here, connected user IDs is equal to connected user IDs. Okay, and that's it for the up method. This code block will get executed whenever you run this migration. Now let's implement the down method. This will get executed whenever you roll back the migration. Okay, and here in the down method we just need to use the remove column method to remove the attribute from the table. Okay, so after the up method, what you need to do, def down, and here just use the remove column method to remove the connected user IDs from users table. So remove column, then table name, then attribute name, and then its type. Here if you wish you can remove skip this array true and default values. Okay, and that's it. Now save the migration. So save the migration file and then come to the terminal and run this migration now. Okay, so just switch to the terminal and run the rails db migrate. Okay, so when you run this you will see that it will take some time because it is iterating through all the users. Okay, and then it is assigning the values of connected user IDs if user has any connection established with other users. Okay, and if you want to verify whether this migration worked or not, then you can do this on rails console. In fact, let's try this, or let's verify this. So what you can do, rails console, Okay. And then you can find any user who has some established connection. For example, let me find with the current user id, that is 1000. So user dot find 1000. Okay. And when you run this query, you will see that this user has the connected user ids attribute now, and all the user ids to whom this user is connected. Okay. So here you can see connected user ids, and it stores in array like 100 201 30 300 301 302 and 309. Okay. So what these are, these are the ids of the users to whom this user is connected. Okay. However, I am using this user id as 1000. Depending upon your case, user id might be different. I mean, the user you used for sign in your system and the user you have some connections with. Okay. So this is working. I mean, the migration is working. Now let's make some changes in the show action of the members controller, because after having the value of this connected user ids, we need to show the count of mutually connected users. Okay. So let's do that. So switch to the project directory again and go to the members controller. Okay. And in the members controller, go to the show action. Okay. And here we need to define a variable that is mutual connections. Okay. So what we can do here, mutual connections. Okay. And here what we can do, current user dot connected user id, connected user ids, and then we need to perform the intersection between the connected user ids of the current user and connected user id of the user instance variable that we defined in this show action. Okay. So now perform the intersection and then use it at the rate user dot connected user ids. Okay. And this will give all the common user ids who are connected with both current user and the at the rate user. Okay. Here you can see that we performed the intersection between the connected user ids of current user and this connected user id of this at the rate user. Okay. And save the controller. Now as the last thing we need to do is to show the link on the member detail partial. So open it. So go to the app views members. Okay. And open this member personal details partial. Okay. And below the connection count link, let's add a dummy link to show the mutual connections. By the way, here we need to check a condition whether current user and user are not equal, and this connection is necessary because if you will not add this condition, then you will see this link on current user profile page as well, and that does not make sense. Okay. So what we can do, just come to this link. Okay. And here we need to make another condition, that is if current user is not equal to at the rate user. Okay. If it is not equal, if this condition is true, I mean if the current user is not equal to the at the rate user, then what we need to do, we need to display the link to show the mutual connections count. Okay. So just add a div element here, div id, or you can just simply copy this. So let's copy it and we will paste it here. We just need to change the id of this div element, that is mutual connections count. Okay. And now let's change this link. So what we can do here, instead of at the rate connections count, what we can display, mutual connections count. Okay. So at the rate mutual connections count, and here we can display mutual connection to this user. And now since this link is different, so make it static for now. So what we can do, javascript void 0. Okay. And remove this void, javascript void 0. Okay. And save it. Now let's switch to the browser and refresh the current user's show page. Okay. So save it and refresh to the browser, switch to the browser and click on the my profile link of the currently signed in user. Okay. Here you will not see the mutual connections user count link here. Okay. Now let's click on the connections link to see its all connection. So when you click on this 13 connections, okay, you will see all the connections here. And now let's click on this link. When you click on this link, you will see that it is showing 10 mutual connections and it has 11 connections already. Okay. That means this user has 11 connections and 10 connections are also connected with the currently signed in user as well. Okay. And you can verify these mutual connections on both for both user on their connections page. For example, let's click on the 11 connections here. Okay, and here you can see that this is the user with id 1, and here it has 10 connections in common, like this Nolan, Quinn, like Dicky, Sylvia, Corey, Daryl, and so on. Okay, and here you can also see these connections, that is this here Nolan, Killing, Dicky, Sylvia, Corey, Daryl, and so on. Okay, and that's it. So here we learned few things like how to add array attributes in Rails using migration. For example, let me show you the migration file again. Here you can see this is how we can make an integer attribute, and we can store that integer attribute as an array, and we can provide default value. And here we can see that how to populate the data for existing model attributes or existing model objects when adding a new attribute, and how to use up and down method in Rails. Okay, and that's it for this lecture. In the next lecture, we will work on the connection template to change the way of fetching and displaying the user connections. In fact, we will refactor few things using this new attribute that we added in this lecture. Meanwhile, try this lecture sincerely, and we will meet into the next lecture. Till then, tata, goodbye, take care, and stay safe.